All aboard!
A gang of good fellows are we, are we, are we. With never a worry, you see, you see, you see. We laugh and joke, we sing and smoke and live life merrily. No matter the weather, when we get together, we have a jubilee. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. What the deuce do we care?
What the deuce do we care?
Hail, hail, we're full of cheer. What the deuce do we care now?
Hello, folks. Here we are on February 13th, 2023. And I want to thank Anthony DiMartini for that wonderful intro. he did it for me. It's great. It really is. And it's good to see all you people here. Yes, we have Don Cheech. And we have Tommy Bridges. Don Berlin, haven't seen you in a while. And we have the Kraut. Julie, you like the intro, huh? That's interesting. Mount Up Broadcast, how you doing, guys? And we have Kissy Cat. Scott H., how you doing, buddy? We have Tim Hunt. Hey, the gang's all here. Well, my subject today that I was thinking about very heavily for the last few days. Don, you can thank Anthony DiMartini. He made it for me. He really did. And he's been asking me, how come you didn't do it? And how come you haven't uploaded it? And I just forgot about it. So I uploaded it a couple of days ago and said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this weekend. It is kind of funny. At any rate, I always say that at any rate. How come we aren't doing this? Oh, no, it doesn't look like I have a good connection here. Something's wrong. But we'll see. Tim Hunt. We had to shovel every day and it snowed every day for 2 weeks. People's rooms were caving and snow. Oh, wow. That's bad. Ogden Avenue from the plows. Wow. You guys be safe out there. Really, be safe. God bless you all. Hey, there we have somebody. I could bet. Badith 123. I haven't seen you before. Poised for duty. Okay, we're ready. Yeah, I missed me Wednesday too. Adam was on tours. Hey, Zoe, how you doing? You people, if you can, please hit that like button. Like and share it, please. Hey, Red. Hello, buddy. Thanks for the show. You're welcome. Thank you. TC, she did live at 111 East Chestnut. And it seems like you guys are the show in the background here. But she has a lot of distinctive things. Hello from Detroit. I've seen you before. Giles Sawyer. Hey, what's up, Red? What's up is I'm going to tell a little bit about Jane Byrne and her involvement with the Chicago outfit. That's what it's all about. At any rate, Kissy Cat, I'm listening while I walk. Can't see the chat. I understand you're probably out someplace. Thank you, Kissy Cat. At any rate, the first time I even, Jerry Cruz, hello from Chicago, Red. Hello, Jerry. Alvin Top Dog. Alvin Top Dog. I'm sorry, Alvin. Stephen Hardley. I guess we're waiting for a few people to get in the room. We'll get into that in a few minutes, Michael. There's more to it than meets the eye. There really is. I don't think the public was really in on it. How you doing, Tim? I'm doing good, guy. Okay, so the first time I had any inclination of this, I was walking along Rush Street, and I was with a guy who worked for the county. His name was Howie Blanco. And while I was walking along, there was a man walking with him. And his name was Jay. That's all I knew was his name was Jay at the time. And he was sloshed. I mean, he was drunk. And he was walking with a glass of a martini. He took it out of one place and he's walking down the street to another place. I came to find out that he wrote a column for the Sun Times. His name was Jay McMullen. And he was pretty well drunk. And he was talking about some unsavory words about his wife. How you doing, Big Tuna? At any rate, while he was talking about his wife, he said, I'll just quote him. He said, the crazy bitch is going to run for mayor. Never heard of her. Didn't know who she was, anything else. And I knew George Dunn, the president of the county board. So it was kind of like I was politically involved in some ways. And in other ways, I wasn't, you know. It was one of those kind of things. So what happened was there was a lot of publicity. I wasn't really watching the news that much, but anybody that knows, Mike Blandick really screwed up when they had the snow command. And Pete Chevrolet was in charge of the snow command. And they didn't have any ice. They didn't have any ice at all. But one of the things that kind of got to me was she slipped in. And in those days, you had to remember, it wasn't, everybody was a Democrat. If you go back to Mayor Daley, which was the first mayor I ever knew, was Richard J. Daley. And I did know him. They were all Democrats. So if you ran and won on the Democratic primary, you were a shoo-in on the general election. So naturally, in 1979, 1980, they're having the election, or, in 79 at the end of it, January. And so the swearing in is in January. So Jane made it in. Didn't know nothing about her. But I found something very peculiar. I found out that her husband was Jay McMullen. And what he did was quit his job at the Sun Times and became her press secretary and everything else. He was involved in everything she was involved in. If it hadn't been for Jane Byrne, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. She ran on a reform ticket. She wanted to break up the cabal in Chicago. That's what she said, the cabal. And it never happened. She found that she needed Alderman Burke. She needed the machine to keep her system going. Otherwise, the city was going to fall apart. She did some marvelous things for people. She really did. She catered to every group, every small group. She catered to the black group. She catered to the every minority. The first gay pride parade. She allowed the police officers, and it was said to me, quote unquote, we would have never had a union if it hadn't been for Jane Byrne. Mayor Daley would have never let that happen. Bolandic would have never let it happen. But they did have a union, and they had a choice. They had a choice between, they all voted, police officers voted. They had a choice between the FOP, and they had a choice between the Teamsters and some other choice that they had. I don't remember what that one was, but they picked the FOP, Federation of Police. And that's how she did something for everybody, but she didn't keep her promise to the people. And her promise was that she was going to break up the cabal. That was it. Yes, she did, Jerry Cruz. She helped every minority group in the city. She wanted everybody to be one, all united. And it just didn't work. It didn't work. So, and you're right, they didn't have any safety salt. They were prepared under Bolandic, but she was prepared afterwards, let me tell you. RV Doc. I was there. The governor was Grand Marshal at the gay parade. I didn't know that. I don't know. Who was the governor then? Harvey Jack. We don't really. You didn't have to tell me that, Doc. Harvey Doc. Yes, there are some parallels there. Poised for duty. There are some parallels there, a lot. Oh, Jim Thompson. Yes, Jim Thompson was governor. And if he led the gay pride parade, I don't know, but I never watched it. I really didn't. I didn't want to. It's kind of a. I was doing a lot of things then. But one of the things that came up to me was that Jimmy Kozo asked me to stop by his place. And I was there, and Joey Lombardo was there, and Jimmy Kozo was there. There were some other people, but we went off in the corner to talk by ourselves. If it's very important to you, Tony, I believe he was. He was arrested at the Ohio motel or something, and everybody that was there that made the arrest went underneath the table, and his bodyguards were there, which were state police officers. And they squashed the whole thing. Everybody was there, got made to a sergeant. They got pushed up in rank, or something happened to them. That's how they kept them quiet. And never really got into the news that I know of. So, how you doing, Mark N? At any rate, I forgot where I was. At any rate, what happened was, at this meeting, it was said, because I had a lot of police officers that were friends, and I had an uncle that was a judge, but I had a lot of police officers for friends, especially in the 18th district, which kind of took care of Rush Street. So Jimmy Joey's just kind of quiet. He's listening, Lombardo. And Jimmy Kozo said to me, you know most of those guys down there in the 18th district, don't you? And I said, yeah, I know all of them. And I did. And he said, see if any of them want a promotion. They want to get ahead. They want to become a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain. They want to climb the ladder. And I said, okay, I'll talk to them. Well, I went back and talked to all the guys I knew, but they all knew I was connected. They seen me with Marshall Cofano. They seen me with Joey Lombardo. They seen me with other people. And so they looked at me and said, nah, I don't think so. And I went back and I told them, I said, I can't snag anybody for you. Because they figured once they gave them rank, once they pushed them into a position, then they would own them. They would own the police. And there were a lot of police on the payroll, a lot of them. And just some people that they owed. They owed it for it was too hard to say no. You just couldn't say no. So meanwhile, while all this is going on, Jane Byrne is changing the city. She's doing as much as she possibly can. And right down the street from me at Oak Street and Wells, they put up Gang Crimes North, a new police station. And Jane Byrne, big press releases, everything. They're painting her apartment in Cabrini Green. She actually moved into Cabrini Green. Now, it was a small little place, and she didn't spend all of her time there, but she made a big deal about it. And I got to tell you this, honestly, it was very safe for her to move in there. First of all, she had her bodyguards. Second of all, they had Gang Crimes North right in front of her entrance where she went in. But her bodyguards were there, and she was very well taken care of while she was there. There was a lot that Jane did. All of a sudden, new election, and there's a lot of turmoil. Some of the things that she had promised, like breaking up the cabal, she had never done. So the cabal was going to break her up, and they wanted a puppet. And along that time came Harold Washington. And by the way, Jane Byrne was the first woman mayor of any city in the United States. Then comes along Harold Washington, and he's running against her. And he's the first black mayor of the city of Chicago or anywhere in the United States that I know of at that time. So it's a part of history. Nick Perez, you're very right. You're very right, Nick. Nothing good about it. I don't know. There's certain things that were good about it, but it was definitely something. That's another thing she did. She started the Taste of Chicago, which is Chicago Fest now, or either way around. I forget how it is. It was at Navy Pier, but she started it. So anyway, Jazz Festival, is that what you call it? It was a Taste of Chicago there too, I believe. RV Doc. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll get to, but at any rate, what's a cabal? George Wilson wants to know, what's a cabal? George, a cabal is a group of people that, it's a negative term for a group of people that disrupt things, and they're organized, they're together, a cabal, and they're powerful. They have a lot of power. Perhaps some of you should look it up in the dictionary. I don't have the best answer for it. I've been using that term for years, at least 50 years or better, and I still don't have a proper legal definition of them. Alberto Lopez, you're probably right. I would call it the swamp. That's what it was. At any rate, what happened after that? You're most welcome, George. What happened after that was Harold was looking good, and Jane was looking good in the polls, but she lost. She lost the primary. And at that time, Byrne Epton was going to run as the Republican mayor against Harold Washington. The fool actually thought he had a chance. But Jimmy Cozzo calls Byrne Epton, and I was there over by his compound, and Epton came over, and there was $1 million in cash laid out on the table, really spread out, $1 million. And he said, we want you to give up your place as a Republican, and Jane Byrne will run in your place. She'll take your ticket. You'll pass it on to her. She'll switch parties. Epton is insulted by the $1 million, and he was going to be the first Jewish mayor in the city of Chicago. Ethnic things were very important in those days, and men and women too. But anyway, what happened is, and you're right, Tony Johnson, Richie Daley did run as a spoiler. He was part of the cabal. That's what it was all about. At any rate, what happened was Jane was really upset, and Brazick was the top cop. Richard Brazick, he was the top cop. He was chief of detectives, or he was the superintendent of police. She made him superintendent. And it didn't last very long because there were death threats on his life and all different kinds of problems. She pushed people up into positions to help people out and tried to save things, but they were against her. The cabal was against her. So the election goes. And after the election goes, I remember distinctly, 1984, or 1983, actually, we got the notice that Harold Washington won the election to become mayor. And then things really changed. They changed a lot. The city changed. Ethnically, logically, a lot of things went down. But meanwhile, under Byrne's regime, Jimmy Cozzo had unions and the Teamsters, and they got into a lot of things. The unions got into a lot of things. City contracts, things that the unions would be using for years, and they did. I mean, all the guys I knew all had city jobs, or they had county jobs. Some were no-shows, but most of them were show. They were tradesmen, electricians, what do you call it? Masons, everything. At any rate, I keep saying at any rate. I thought that she was a very dynamic force. She was very a fashionable person. She had people that actually she wasn't fashionable in the beginning, but they had people that told her what to buy, what to wear. Her campaign was behind her. They wanted to get rid of Bolandic, and they got rid of him. He was a one-termer. She was a one-termer. Harold Washington comes along, and he really changed a lot of things in the city of Chicago. But that's something very interesting, Charles. Now that you brought that up, it flashed something in my brain. During the election, just before the election, Harold Washington went to Byrne Epton, and on television, on the news, they shook hands, and made a bet and said, "We're going to Florida. We're going to have breakfast in Florida." That's how it is. And the loser of the election is going to pay for the breakfast and the trip. Well, after Harold won, nobody heard of Bernie again. Bernie disappeared. He never showed up, never went anywhere. He was the laughing stock of Chicago. And there were a lot of jokes made about him. Why he didn't appear. Suzette, he was a little bit more than a cross-dresser. You're talking about that picture that was in the Art Institute, and a young man painted the picture of him in a dress, and Dorothy Tillman, she took off her high heel shoe and ripped the picture in the Art Institute. The young man that did the picture sued and made a fortune. But he was a little bit more than a cross dresser. He had younger boys at his home, and he was never married, or he was married. It was an arranged marriage or something like that. It was kind of it was very different. Yes, they both were Hyde Parkers, and Hyde Park was actually Hyde Park was not a bad place. I never heard about that, and I don't think she did. I don't go along with that because she had enough bodyguards around there where she didn't need a gun. She really didn't. She never went anywhere alone. And the Chicago, her detail, the Chicago police, they had fully automatic weapons. That's what I heard, TC. I heard the same thing. And I would agree with you, Suzette. Chicago is a lost cause now. Chicago reminds me of Detroit when it was declining to nothing. And recently I had somebody do a video in Detroit of downtown, and Detroit is coming back. It's clean, it's nice. They have some beautiful things there. They have an opera house. They have a lot of things in Detroit. All the things that Chicago used to have, and they don't have anymore. Don Cheech, now that we're talking about that, did you ever see Jane swung opposite? Uh, no, but I heard it from her husband, Jay McMullen. It was kind of like a Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton affair. They both went off and did their own things. They had children together, but then again, Bill and Hillary had Chelsea. But I always wondered how that happened. Any rate, keep saying any rate. Bad habit. Got to break it. I don't know how to break it yet, but I'll break it. As this story goes on, there are so many things that I look back at and say, yes, they were human, just like all the other Chicagoans. They all had their either mistresses, or they were gay, or they were bisexual, or whatever. They all had something to hide. Every one of them had something to hide. And Jane was a flash in the pan, but it was a bright star. It really was a bright star. There are so many things that got accomplished in Chicago that would have never got accomplished. Never. Would have never got accomplished. They did have children, Tony. At least one that I know of, because they have grandchildren that are running around. Michael Graham, you love it when Jane Byrne moved into Cabrini Green with about 20 cops guarding her. It was more than 20. And they built gang crimes north there. I mean, gang crimes north, right in the projects in Cabrini Green. Gang crimes north? There was a gang crime south, too. I don't know where that was. I wasn't out there. Dave Mataska, Jane was no slouch in the booze department. She sure wasn't. Neither was Jay. I used to look at the two of them and say, these are the days of wine and roses. A very popular film. Way back, long time ago. Tony, no, the daughter was Byrne's first husband, a Marine pilot. Mullen had children from his first wife. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Because I know they didn't live together until after the election. Then they moved in for appearance's sake. Thank you, Tony. You guys are the show. TC. You've been in the Byrne family home on Colmar Avenue. Where's Colmar Avenue? I don't know where Colmar Avenue is in the city. It must be a smaller. Is that up at Saginaw? I really don't know. Okay. I'm reading your comments, folks. I take it her first husband was in the Navy. If he died in Glenview. Colmar runs north and south between Pulaski and Cicero. It's parallel to it then, right? I wonder how far north it was. Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. I appreciate the $5 super sticker, buddy. I really do, Tim. Thank you so much. 5900 block. The 1500 block, let's see. 1600 would be what, Bryn Mawr? But that far west, Bryn Mawr didn't go. So 5960, well, 58 is 52 was Foster. I don't know what's at the 5900 blockers in that area by the 60. Peterson, up in the Peterson area. Yes, Peterson, you put it in there for me. Thank you. Well, that was a fairly nice neighborhood. I don't know what it is now. You believe it's up by Devon, you think. Well, TC, thanks for the help. It was up by Peterson. Bryn Mawr is 56. You're right. I was going, actually, I was counting from Foster Avenue and going north of there. And I really don't know too much about. I know Sun High School's up that way, but that's east. Is Lily White? I don't. Still Lily White. Oh, the neighborhood. Okay, you're talking about the neighborhood. Peterson Avenue. I guess we have a lot of Chicagoans in here, but we also have some people that are from out of state, and maybe they lived there once. I don't know. I know one of our members here is from Detroit. We're talking about Tiger Town. William Byrne was a Marine pilot. Okay. He was a Marine pilot at Glenview Naval Air Station, which is very common in those days. Very, very common. I got a kick of it, really. It was an very interesting career. Very interesting career. Thank you again, Tim. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Nice super sticker, guy. $5 for me. Peterson Avenue, exactly 5900 North. Okay, so she lived at almost on the corner then. RV Doc, we know you're at the Chain of Lakes, buddy. RV Doc. How you doing? Barbara Eden was from there. I don't think she was from that neighborhood. I can't believe this. Beetlejuice. Hi, Red. I know this can't be the current mayor of Chicago. Beetlejuice. That was the nickname that everybody's been talking about. Okay. That makes sense. It's almost up there. Almost up there. At any rate, it was a time with all the new things, the taste of Chicago. They might have called it something else at that time, and it was very, very interesting. It really was. TC, here's a little piece of information for you. There was a restaurant kind of down in the basement next door to me. It was called the Bowl and Roll in the Cave. Frankie Schweiss and I used to go in there every so often. And it was a nice place. And Barbara Eden used to stop by. And I used to see her sitting outside smoking a cigarette. I actually talked to her a couple times. She always had a newspaper up in her face. She really didn't want to be noticed. Midland Power Wash Inc. Red's best friend murdered 3 boys and confessed to him. Red said nothing to the authorities. Well, Midland, you are a liar and a fool for even saying something like that. It's not true. And if you look at something other than gossip, Midland Power Wash, if you look at something other than gossip, you're going to find out that it wasn't the way it was. It's not like you say it is. Not at all. You saw former Mayor Byrne in 91st and Oakbrook Court getting out her Oldsmobile, and I was sitting in your semi waiting for maintenance guy to meet me when she said good morning, or you said good morning, Miss Mayor Byrne, and she acknowledged. She always acknowledged. She's a very wonderful person. I thought so. Philip Dilberg, you met Belandic on Cup Show. All his bodyguards were young Bill guys. Thank you, Philip. Thank you for the $5. Thank you very much, guy. God bless you. I don't need slander from Midland Power Wash or whatever. It's not true. This other idiot's putting on his channel that is true. He's 10 biggest lies. My best friend. It wasn't my best friend. Didn't kill 3 little boys. I didn't have a best friend that killed 3 little boys. Shame on you. Beetlejuice. Did I know anybody from Elmwood Park? No, I did not, sir. I really didn't. If I did, I didn't know they were from Elmwood Park. Yes, he certainly is, John. I just deleted him from the channel. I said, that's it. It was an unnecessary comment. And it really bothers me that anybody would even think that I would be like that. I'm very plain and open. I do live shows. I take questions. But if he listened to my book or if he read any of the transcripts from any of the trials that I was involved in, like the Schuessler-Peterson murders, he'd know that I jump-started the case. But no, he's got to be keyboard warrior and just get out there and say things that are stupid. Greetings, sir. I always appreciate your program. Remember hearing the documentary that a drug dealer mentioned that was losing around $15,000 a day when Mayor Byrne got to Cabrini. I wouldn't doubt that, Count Olaf. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And thank you for watching. Thank you all for watching. Please hit the like button. Let me know. Show me some love. I appreciate the super stickers too. I really do. I listen to just about everything, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll listen, but I won't count it as a fact. The fact is, John Cheech says it right here. You must know him, John Cheech. I listen to the positive, the negative. I listen to everything. And everybody has freedom of speech. But don't go bumping on somebody else, when you don't know what you're talking about. You're just repeating something you heard. Hearsay. If you want to know about my life, ask me. I'll be glad to tell you. I don't hide. I'm out here for everybody to see. Whoever this guy was that I just deleted, I can tell you one thing. He doesn't give his name. And he doesn't get out here and talk and face you people. Or anybody else. He just his comment. Okay, Robert. What were my favorite hotels and casinos in the 70s and the 80s? I only had one favorite, the Stardust. That was it. I know there were other ones, but it wasn't it. That's what it was called. It was called Chicago Fest. It wasn't a taste of Chicago. Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much. The first one was on Navy Pier, and it wasn't a taste of Chicago. It was called Chicago Fest. But I remember it. I remember it. And she started that. It was great. Jerry Cruz has a public announcement, so to speak. Anybody going to the auto show? Jim Magnifici, Midland Power and Wash is all rinsed with no lather. Thank you, Jim. Made me feel better. At least I got a laugh out of it. Robert, did they know that you were someone that knows someone when yes, I was. They did know. When I got there, when I signed for my check, I signed John Smith to leave. What I did have to do, and I didn't have to pay for anything there. What I did have to do is pay the taxes, the state taxes. But there was only like $100 some odd. But that's about it. Leanne, how you doing? In the 80s in Chicago, it was something. It was a McCormick place. I remember it. Thank you, Leanne. Ah, snaps. Reds heated. Get him, mister. Let the digs out of the roof. Thank you, Wake up. Excuse me. Let me say your name. It's all together. Smoothe. Smooth operator. I've talked to you before. Just wondering if I remember what kind of cars the top mob guys drove. Not specifically, no. I really don't. I honestly don't. That is correct. He was the only Republican that served as a mayor in Chicago. Thank you, John O. I got TC. I just checked in. I did what Jimmy Couture told me to do. I checked in. They knew what my name was. They gave me a room, and they told me to sign Mr. Smith for every meal I wanted or anything that I wanted. And that's how it went for me. But they comped me on everything. And on top of that, I won some money. When I came home, I bought my first apartment building. And I was a very young man then. I was only 21. The old Baritz Cadillac, that was very popular. They drove Yugos. Not many people remember what a Yugo is. You got to be the right age. Yugos. They're from Yugoslavia. Beetlejuice. Red, did Frank ever invite you to his house, seeing he frequented yours? No, he never did. And I wouldn't have gone anyway if he had invited me. Hey, Bill Stacks, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Tim Stifles, did you ever watch Lefty's show? No, I didn't. It wasn't broadcast in Chicago. I never watched it. Got some of your fans here, Bill. They're saying hi to you. When you're with me, you're part of the show. The Yugo was the only car that made the Ford Pinto look good. There are a few other ones. Izettas, a lot of foreign cars that were very uncommon back in those days. But anyway, that's about what happened with Mayor Belandic, or excuse me, Mayor Byrne, Jane Byrne. And I do have to say she was a tough old broad. She stood up against a lot of people. And she was very successful in what she did. But her involvement with the mob, she had no problem getting involved with the mob, believe me. Your parents got me a book for Christmas. I finished it in a few weeks. Fantastic. Thank you, Paulie Walnuts. So if you remember sending a copy to Jacksonville, Illinois, that was it. I do remember it. I do remember it because I was curious about Jacksonville, Illinois. Paulie, do me a favor. If you're an Amazon customer, that's all you have to be is an Amazon customer. Go to Amazon and write a review for me. Good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you think. Go to Amazon, write a review for me. I have 107 reviews. I can't believe that. Out of all the books I sold, only 107 people write a review. Chat with Stack Show. Yo, too, man. I gotta get on you again, Red. Thank you, buddy. Wake up. Why I love Frank Collage spoke his mind and drove in. Worried about strikes. Thank you, Wake Up. Some of the wise guys had Lincolns and Cadillacs. I have to say, I've told the story before, and I'll say it again, George. Joey Lombardo held a meeting, and he had an old Dodge with primer paint on it and everything else. And he said, there was like maybe 40 of us there. And he said, you're driving an electric 225. If I got to drive that piece of shit, then you're going to get something that looks, like you're not making a lot of money. It's not good. So there were some people that did. Michael Graham, what percentage of your business success would you say was due to the political or mob influence? Not mob influence. None of it was that. I would say political. Yeah, I had good attorneys. I had other people that I was easy to get along with. I mean, I never came demanding anything. I always came with a hat in my hand and a little money with it too. So it was different back then, Mike. Papadal utility project. You changed your view on her work. I don't know what you're talking about, guy. Thank you, Paulie. I really appreciate it. If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. That was after my time. It really was, John Cooley, Cody Cooley Jr. Don't forget about the mayor of Cicero. That was after my time. When I left, I believe Christy Burkus was mayor of Cicero. And I know who you're talking about, but that was later. It was in the 90s. Leanne, rolling along. If I ordered your book through Amazon, can I get a signed copy? Not through Amazon, Leanne. Go to redwemet.com. No spaces. Redwemet.com. And you can order directly from me, and I can guarantee you I'll sign it to you, sweetheart. God bless you. I must not be keeping up with the comments. Chat with Stack shows. You on my show. Yeah, I know you're talking about Betty Maltese. I know you are. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. If you enjoyed the show, hit the like button on the way out. I appreciate it. If you didn't get it on the way in, Kalana could give you that death look, and you know you're fucked up. I don't know. I don't know. He didn't seem that scary to me, but then again, I look at things different. I was around a lot of scary people. You have to say Marshall Kafana was not a slouch. He was a scary person. And other people always told me to be cautious around him. I never was. Never had a problem. He has a YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel. He started maybe 6 months ago. And if you slide that chain together, you look on YouTube, you'll find it. But he's a liar and a jerk. And I don't know, what he's going to say about, when I say about liar, he lies about me. I don't know about any of the other things he talks about because I don't watch his channel. That's who he is. He was a very scary person. Red, did you absolutely, Michael Graham? Red, did you absolutely write about the being different back then? Back then, if you wanted to be promoted in the police department, you handed the right person an envelope full of money. Either that or you knew the right person. One of my close friends was in Daring, which is by Mayor Daley, and over in Bridgeport. And he was involved in something that happened, and he didn't want to leave Daring. And they promoted him to hit and run, major accident, as with detective grade. And he didn't really want to go, but they moved him up. John Cooley Jr. Wait a minute. I today, not Wednesday? Red, you threw me off. No, it's Monday, John. Thank you, Star Wars. I appreciate it. I intend to. I got a lot of them to tell. Uh, Beetlejuice, you ask a question. How prominent were the Jewish people in the outfit? Was there a power struggle at all? No, not at all. They were integrated. One of the ones I liked very much was Irv Weiner. Irv Weiner was part of our crew, and he was a genius. He was always good. Great guy. Let me get this. Poised for duty. You're saying he was a little Tom Brady, Red. The guy didn't want to go. I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't. Poised for duty. I don't know if every cop wanted to go to O'Hare Airport, but it was a good job, and that was out of the 16th district. It was attached to the 16th district, and it was the ones I knew went. They were really good. They had it made. John Coley Jr. No, I don't go to cemeteries to visit people. I visit them when they're alive. When they're dead, they don't need me standing over them. I'm sure God can do that better than I can. Don Berlin. Who were the attorneys or law firms? I never used the firm. Uh, Adam Bourgeois tried me to get me to use him, and he defended a lot of outfit places, but I never did. Probably the best one, my best attorney that I ever had was Howie Gilman. Howie was a good friend of mine and a great attorney. He used to laugh at me all the time. He used to say, "You're the only," he said, "Hey," everybody called me kid. And he said, "Hey, kid, you're the only person that has a doctor come to his house, a lawyer come to his house." He said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I don't know, Howie. It's just the way it is." But I used to call him at his home. When I first got on Facebook in 2016, I connected with Paul Gilman, and that's his son. He remembers seeing me at 16 years old, which was a long time before that. But Paul, his brother, knew me, and Howie passed on. There were some other attorneys that I used, but Howie was my main primary source. I didn't have I didn't have any need for a drug lawyer, Robert. I just didn't have any need for him. I know who you're talking about, Dean Wilson. Beetlejuice. I think everyone likes you because you're humble. I don't know if I'm that humble, but I am who I am. I'm very outspoken. I say what I want. I really don't hold my tongue back that much. Don Berlin. True. Dean Wilson never lost a case. Joanne Wilson was really, she had a lot of talent too. You're right. She did. But basically, they only took drug cases. I don't know who Jerry Burlot was, and I never ran to him for anything. So that's your answer for that. Well, folks, Tim, when was the last time you saw Tony or talked to Tony, and what caused his heart attacks? Because he was kind of young, wasn't he? I believe it was a bad diet. I also believe that the cocaine had a lot to do with it, but I didn't know about that. I really didn't know about it. It was quite some time ago. I didn't really know what Tony was into or whatever. We did not talk about things like that. It just didn't happen. Anyway, I want to thank all you folks for coming by. It's really been great. And I'll see you next Monday, or maybe I'll see you Wednesday with Adam on my vlog. God bless you.
The combination of the videotapes and Ouimette's testimony resulted in the conviction of 2 men on extortion charges. One of them was Frank Schweiz, known in syndicate circles as the German, a feared mob terrorist and a suspect in a number of gangland murders.
He was described to me by other outfit individuals as the most feared hitman. And as he said to me, my reputation precedes me, son.